Hello and welcome to the SWE at UCI Outreach channel. I'm Saket. I'm one of the co-chairs of Outreach at SWE at UCI.
My name is Liz Chu, and I am the other co-chair of Outreach at SWE. And today we're going to be asking a mechanical engineering student at UCI 73 questions. First off, what is your name?
A. Lily Castillo,
What's your major?
mechanical engineering major,
Where are you from?
Carlsbad, California in North County, San Diego,
What degree are you pursuing?
bachelor's degree.
What are your plans after you finish your degree?
Either go into industry or pursue a PhD.
What's your dream job?
Either go into biotech, project management, or become a professor.
Do you commute to UCI or do you live on campus?
I usually live on campus.
What has been your favorite class at UCI?
My favorite non-engineering class, I have a couple. Biosci 35, which is human brain and behavior, Chiclat 62, or Anthro 2A. My favorite engineering class has been MAE 52, which is Intro to SolidWorks.
What has been your least favorite class at UCI?
Highest level of multivariable calculus and cell and molecular bio.
Who was your favorite engineering professor?
Professor Dave Demas.
If you could pick another minor or major at UCI, which one would you choose?
I am currently pursuing a BME minor, but if I had to choose a major within UCI to switch to, I would probably pick anthropology, psychology, or neuroscience.
Are you involved in research right now? And if so, can you explain it?
I am not.
Are you involved in a design project right now?
I was a part of a senior design project called Proprioception Trainer, but the project was put on hold because of the pandemic. The project itself focused on creating a device that helps restore proprioception between the index and middle finger of post-stroke patients through an incentivized game.
Have you had or do you currently have an on-campus job?
I do have a job on campus. I work at the postdoctoral and graduate resource center as a front desk attendant. I essentially help all the TAs with their student work.
Have you had or do you have an internship?
I do not. I have been focusing more on my on-campus participation and schooling.
What's your favorite spot on campus?
Phoenix Grill.
Where is your favorite spot to eat on campus?
Bagels from Einstein Bagels at Phoenix Grill.
Where is your favorite spot to study on campus?
I like to study at my work or Phoenix Grill or sometimes Langston if it's really late at night.
If you could create a new class at UCI, what would it be?
A class about conspiracy theories.
What is something you hope to do in the future at UCI?
I really want to lay in Aldridge Park at night and stare at the stars.
Why did you choose UCI?
Location, resources with loads of support for my demographic and academic accessibility, as well as opportunities.
What is your favorite thing about UCI?
I love how they're constantly striving for inclusivity and diversity, and it has really helped me feel more at home and feel like I found a second home. Also, I love my SWE people and my work, so it makes it more enjoyable to be on campus and around this sense of community.
What is your least favorite thing about UCI?
The hills.
When did you know you wanted to study engineering?
Junior year of high school.
What got you interested in engineering?
I toured a biotech company at the same time that I began learning physics and calculus, which I absolutely loved, and everything started falling into place for me.
Why did you choose your major?
After I toured the biotech company, I began researching the different engineering routes. My first true exposure to the world of engineering was this tour that I took, and I didn't know what it really was at this point in my life. The whole idea of engineering just was encompassed for me by bridges and construction, which is far beyond the complexities and the intricacies that is the world of engineering. So I started researching and I found a website called Engineering Girl, and I essentially started browsing and I looked through the tabs for mechanical engineering. So the part that really caught my eye was how they were describing that the major is so versatile and there's so many different ways that you can use this major. And the one that really stood out to me was that you can build and create prosthetics, which I thought was super cool at the time. So I decided to pick this major because I knew it would lead to that sense of interest that I was going towards, but also I knew it was so versatile that if at the end of the day I decided that wasn't for me, I could always switch my interest and it'd still be applicable with the major.
Can you briefly explain your major?
I saw this one Instagram page post definitions for specific engineering majors, and I thought they really did a great job at encompassing what mechanical engineering is. So I took it from their page. They're called Womengineered, and they said mechanical engineering is a combination of engineering, physics, mathematics, and material science to design, analyze, manufacture, and maintain mechanical systems and devices.
Are you specializing within your major? And if so, what is your specialization?
At the moment, I don't see myself specializing within my mechanical engineering major, but I am doing a minor which in a way kind of specializes my interests.
What clubs and activities are you involved in at UCI?
I am the SWE UCI 2020-2021 president. Prior to that, I was one of the outreach chairs. I was also part of a senior design project called Proprioception Trainer, and I'm currently a part of Trio Scholars, which is one of the programs that is promoted within the Student Success Initiatives.
Have you ever switched your major? And if so, why?
I have not.
Have you ever considered changing your major? And if so, why?
I have plenty of times. I'll take an interesting course and become infatuated with the content. However, I always bring back into perspective that most majors do have their hints of interesting courses, but it doesn't completely reflect the major as a whole. Just like dual courses in a major don't showcase the great parts of a major. So more than anything, I take this as a way for me to further gauge my interests so that I can further define the path I want to take after graduation.
Did you come to UCI undeclared?
I came in as a mechanical engineering major, so no.
What is something you wish you could tell your high school self?
Perspective is everything. Looking back at all the problems I used to stress about and they seemed almost heightened, at this point in time, they kind of seem a little, not meaningless, but they seem a little less heightened as they were at the moment. And there's so much going on around the world that you come to realize that the big stressors in your life aren't as big as stressors as they need to be. So definitely perspective is everything. And also look for resources and ask questions. There's so much out there in the university and around our communities that could really help and benefit you on so many levels, whether it's mental health, academics, financial resources, applications, professional development. You just have to go looking for them and ask around. Honestly, you'd be surprised how much diverse information everyone around you has. So simply asking those questions helps open doors for you.
What is something you would tell high school students interested in engineering?
I found it easier to weed out topics or interests I didn't want to pursue versus trying to find specifically what I do want to do. You have time, so you don't have to stress yourself out about this. Honestly, be open to growing your vision for what you want for yourself in the future, and you'll find that you'll have so many opportunities coming your way. Also, find a campus that supports you and your demographic and your future passions, because the resources they will provide for you will help you become super successful. So go looking for them.
How do you like to take notes in class?
I've progressed to taking notes with a black pen on a notebook and using highlighters to accent specific questions and key topics. Fun fact, I actually only use one black pen throughout one quarter, and I usually only switch it out if the ink runs out, but that tends to align with the end of the quarter, so it's super satisfying to just chuck a pen into the trash can and start fresh as the next quarter comes around.
What is one thing that surprised you about UCI?
I was surprised at how inclusive it is and how much the engineering department is striving to provide more representation for underrepresented communities. Also on campus, I was super surprised how pretty it gets with all the trees, like all the purple trees once they blossom. Beautiful.
What is one thing that surprised you about your major?
Definitely, it hits you that demographics tend to reflect what happens in the work field. So seeing a little less Latinas, little less females in my classes hit me hard once I came to realize it and saw it with my own eyes. But honestly, it was even more shocking to see how accepting and how willing everyone is to help you out, and then everyone is striving to form the sense of community within my major and within my classes. So that's really heartwarming and very progressive, which I truly appreciate.
Have you ever studied abroad? And if so, where? If not, where would you like to study abroad?
I haven't studied abroad through UCI or at college, but I did in high school. I ended up going and studying abroad in Cadiz, Spain, which was a super amazing experience. So I would consider going abroad to another European country just to gauge what the difference in culture is like and to hear all the accents.
Have you been to one of the career fairs before?
I have not, but I'm going to my first one this fall.
How are engineering classes online for you?
It's been interesting adapting. It was completely okay with me because transitioning the quarter that we transitioned into being at home and staying at home and online classes, I was going to have a couple of late night classes. So it totally was good. So I didn't have to walk back to my apartment at like 10 p.m. in the pitch dark. It's definitely harder to concentrate at home since there's not much space where I live and I don't have my own room and my own space, but it's been a learning experience and we've definitely been learning as we go.
What is one tip you would give for taking classes online?
Find people in your class and collaborate and go to office hours.
What is one tip you would give to an incoming student in your major?
You will have your highs and you'll have your lows, but try to find a support group that will grow alongside you and you'll make it through, trust me. And also remember that someone believed that you would be successful in this major, which is why you got accepted not only to this school, but also to the major that you got accepted to. So don't let yourself forget that. You are capable.
Where do you like to go off campus during your free time?
My friends and I like to go and sporadically go on different adventures. So sometimes we'll go to the Spectrum, Farmers Market, the district, but we also enjoy having our nights in and having spontaneous movie nights and paint nights. So it's always fun to mix it up.
Have you ever been inside the infinity fountain?
I haven't fully submerged myself in the infinity fountain, but I have dipped my toes in and my feet in.
Do you like to go to UCI sporting events?
Not often, but they're always super fun to go to, especially if you like to people watch.
Do you have a favorite boba place near UCI?
I've only had boba a handful of times, so I personally don't have a preference. Don't hate me.
Have you ever ordered from the Zotbots before?
I do not, but they're super cute.
Have you ever fallen asleep in class before?
Most definitely, and it's kind of embarrassing because I tend to sit closer to the front of the room, so don't let those 8 a.m.s hit you.
What is one misconception you had about your major?
I've gotten this a lot from people back home who don't quite understand and aren't familiar with the world of engineering. They thought because I was studying mechanical engineering that I was studying to become a car mechanic, which is not right. And then I've also gotten the you'll only get a desk job, which honestly, there's so much versatility with the major. There's a lot of options out there.
Why did you choose this major over other similar majors?
So my sister major is aerospace engineering, and I chose mechanical engineering because I felt like going into college that aerospace was very specialized, and that it was specialized in a subject that I didn't find much interest in. So I really enjoyed the versatility of mechanical engineering and how it aligned with my interests.
How difficult was it for you to choose your major?
It was a long process, especially because I had little to no guidance, and a lot of the information I was receiving was through online testimonials. And plus, the little exposure I did have to it was through that biotech company too, where I attended.
If you could change one thing about UCI, what would change?
The hills, or some of the elevators in the ICS and engineering department buildings. I would definitely make them a little less sketch to ride and a little more secure and safe to be on.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate UCI's food?
I would give it like a 6.5 because sometimes it really, really slaps, but other times it just misses the target completely.
Which dining hall do you like better?
I personally lived in Middle Earth, so my heart will go out to Pippin. Rest in peace, Pippin. But because of my loyalty to Middle Earth, I would have to say Brandywine.
Which on-campus library do you prefer?
So Science Library has an amazing view, but it's kind of out of the way. Langston tends to generally be closer to everything I do on campus, so because of its location, I do tend to be there more often than at the Science Library.
Do you prefer morning, afternoon, or evening classes?
Year-round, I would say afternoon classes, because evening classes in the fall make me kind of sad. It gets super dark, so you'll go into your class at like 4 p.m. or like 5 p.m., the sun's setting, then you come out and it's like pitch dark, which is super scary sometimes. And then 8 a.m.'s just, those ain't it sometimes.
Do you have a favorite place to sit in class?
I tend to sit either third row in the middle part, or just generally around the middle of the room, depending on the class.
What range of units do you prefer to take per quarter?
Most definitely 16 units, but I have definitely surpassed that quite a bit.
What has been your hardest class at UCI?
Fluid mechanics or thermodynamics. It was mostly due to the teaching styles because they weren't my personal favorite.
What has been your easiest class at UCI?
Anthro 2A or Chick-Glat 62.
What has been a challenging aspect of your college experience?
Imposter syndrome and first time not getting straight A's.
What is something you wrote about in your UC college applications?
I definitely talked about my upbringing, being first generation, low income, single mom who works as a house cleaner. I talked a lot about my identity as a Latina and being brought up bilingual. I also ended up talking about my leadership and my different involvements in high school, which included band, church choir, science olympiad, academic league, and tutoring.
What resources do you like to use to choose your classes?
I developed my own 4-year plan because I love a good spreadsheet, and I ended up using online resources like Reddit, Rate My Professor, a lot of word of mouth. Ant Almanac, I use their feature where they send you notifications when there's open spots in certain classes, and I tend to use Zotbots quarter by quarter to make my schedule.
How would you describe the UCI community?
I personally found it very welcoming and overall supportive. There's lots of different layers and versions of the community within UCI, but that has been the side of the community that I've been exposed to and that I have personally been trying to integrate myself into.
Is UCI or engineering at UCI in particular competitive?
People do have a competitive mindset, but everyone is always able to bond and find a sense of community and humor within the engineering world. And I will say that some people do look very intimidating and they look like they're constantly on their A game, but there's honestly such a spectrum within all the classes, and usually people are very willing to help you out even if they don't know all the answers.
What do you like or dislike about the quarter system?
Because I've taken summer classes for the past 3 summers at UCI, quarters tend to feel a little bit elongated, but at first it did seem like time was constantly ticking and like I couldn't take a breath. But honestly, I prefer it better than semester system. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like you're learning. It feels like you're learning material or memorizing it just to pass the course. But a lot of it does play in, and all the classes tend to be threaded together. So a lot of the information tends to get passed down from one part of the series to the next. But honestly, I personally love how it's 10 weeks. I couldn't imagine being in one class for a full semester. But I love the 10-week nature of it because you end up getting a new round or a new set of professors and colleagues, and you end up meeting a lot of cool new people.
What do you like to do during study breaks?
During my study breaks, I tend to browse social media as one does. I chat with friends. I sometimes go out to eat or go get a drink. Usually, I tend to just find a way to relax. So recently, because I've been at home, I've been watching shows in between my study sessions.
What classes are you currently taking right now?
This summer, I'm taking fluid mechanics and cellular and molecular bio.
What class are you looking forward to taking in the future?
I'm excited for this fall. I'm going to be taking a BME course about photomedicine. So I'm super excited. I've been really looking forward to it. And in the future, I'm looking forward to taking another BME class about engineering medical optics.
What is one campus resource that has helped you a lot during your time at UCI?
Definitely the resources for the engineering department that I found most valuable and most helpful have been OAI and camp resources. They send a lot of information and opportunities in their newsletters, but also Sweet Connections have been such a dime to have.
What is your favorite memory at UCI?
Honestly, there are so many. My favorite first year memory has definitely been when a bunch of hallmates and I decided to bring in mattresses into my itty bitty tiny corner of the building double, and we had a giant sleepover for like 2 whole weeks. And then throughout my second year, just the memories I've made with one of my best friends, Sam, who is the SWE UCI 2020-2021 vice president. We hang out a lot, so we go on a bunch of spontaneous trips, and those memories are always so fun to go back and remember and recall.
Who is a fellow engineer or engineering student who inspires you?
I would definitely have to say all the empowering women within SWE. One thing that always runs in the back of my head whenever I feel like a class is more difficult or challenging is thinking, if they can do it, so can I. So they have been super inspiring, super empowering, and super supportive. If I had to narrow it down to one person, I would have to say my material science TA did have a lasting impact on me. He was very supportive, and because he was a PhD student, he shared his journey with me and explained what it was like to be a PhD and engineering student. And he has been super supportive whenever we talk about my future goals and my future dreams. So definitely, I would have to say him.
And those are all the questions for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and see you next time. Bye!